Okay, now that we have our first line chalked, that's going to be our reference point. Every other line in your basement is going to be exactly parallel to that line or perpendicular to that line. So go ahead and measure and mark all your parallel lines. If your other parallel line is on a foundation wall, just make sure that you accommodate for the room that you need to pull away from it, like we did on the first line. We did 4 inches away from the wall, and that was sufficient on this case. It may need more, but what you want to do is measure exactly to from one corner to the other, the same distance, and make a parallel line. Make your marks on the floor and chalk a blue line. Make sure it's far enough away from your foundation wall. If it's good, then go ahead and chalk a darker permanent line, red, black, whatever color you're using, and now you have parallel lines. So the parallel lines are pretty easy. You just do the same thing we did on this first one. Measure the same distance, make sure they're exactly parallel, double check, make sure you are measuring the same distance from each corner, and chalk those lines. So now we'll go ahead and show you how to do a perpendicular line. Okay, so we're going to chalk our first perpendicular line, and we're going to start in this corner. This wall, or this line, is our permanent line that we've already laid down, our main master line, if you will. And we're going to chalk a perpendicular line down this way. So we're going to start in this corner, and we're going to use a formula for a right angle triangle to make sure that this angle is a right angle. So that formula, as you probably already know, is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The easy way to remember this is in measurements of 3 feet by 4 feet with a diagonal of 5 feet, or any multiples of that. So you could go measure out one leg of your triangle, you could measure out 3 feet, the other one 4 feet, and then the diagonal should be exactly 5 feet. And if that's the case, you've got a triangle. Perfect right angle. However, we've got a much bigger room than that, and we want to make as big of a triangle as we can to ensure that our right angle is accurate. So we're going to extend that out as far as we can, and in this case, I think we can comfortably make a larger measurement than 3 feet, 4 feet, and 5 feet. So we're going to up that. We could go 6, 8, 10, or any multiples beyond the 3, 4, 5. Just adding, for example, the 3-foot leg, 6 feet, 9 feet, 12 feet. And in this case, that's what we're going to do. We're going to go 12 feet down this wall, and then we're going to make a mark on our master chalk line. So the point I want to go over is where you put your tape measure to start. So we know we want to go 12 feet, but do we put it up against the foundation wall, or where do we put it? Well, you're going to want to put it back 4 inches or so. Wherever you think you might be putting this new wall, that's about where you want to put your mark to start measuring. It's not going to be hugely critical right now. All we're concerned about is getting a nice perpendicular line. Once we have that line in our more faint blue chalk, we can move it wherever we want because we know we've got a good straight line. We can move it back further if we need to. We can test the wall to make sure the studs will not hit the foundation. And then once we've got it where we want it, we can chalk our permanent line. This is the first leg of our triangle. This measurement's going to be 12 feet, but I wanted to show you what you do where you start the tape measure. So first you have to measure out. We're pretending this is a foundation wall. We're going to measure out 4 inches, just like we did before. And we're going to make a mark at 4 inches. And then we're going to start the tape there at the 4-inch mark. Okay, so we've come 12 feet down our line. There's our chalk line. So you just want to make a mark right here at 12 feet. Okay, now we're going to measure our second leg of the triangle. This measurement is going to be 16 feet. So we're going to start this measurement from our red line, and we're going to go down the perpendicular wall that we're going to be chalking out. So where do you want to start for this measurement? You want to start right on the line that we've chalked, and right at the 4-inch mark we made before. So put your tape measure right there. And then you want to try to keep your tape as parallel as you can to the wall. And I'll show you how we're going to do this, because nobody's perfect and it's going to be pretty difficult to tell if we are actually being perfectly straight here. So what we're going to do is we're going to mark the 16-foot mark. Same place, we're going to mark it at the top of our tape, just the same way we had it down there. You don't want to mark on the other side. You want to mark on the same side that you set it. And we're going to place a mark here. I'm going to bring the tape in here closer so that I can pivot it. You're going to kind of hold your pencil on the tape at the 16-foot mark and just kind of pull it. Whoops. Rotate that and make a mark that gives you some latitude in case you weren't perfectly straight. So the 4 inches may actually be over here, or it may be over here, but this way we've got a mark that'll tell us. And I'm going to ignore that little one. So now we're going to do our cross measurement, the 20-foot measurement. So we're going to start our measurement from our 12-foot mark on the wall, the permanent line that we made, our master line, and we're going to bring our tape over to this mark, and we're going to mark the 20-foot increment. We've got our diagonal tape stretched across the room from our 12-foot mark over to our 16-foot mark, and we will mark now this portion of the triangle, and this will tell us, if I can get that set up, this will tell us where our mark is for a perfect triangle. So again, we're going to set the pencil on the tape, and we're going to kind of make a half circle or a arced line right on the 20-foot mark. Again, make sure you're always using the same side of the tape. Don't hop sides of the tape. If down on that end you're on this side of the tape for the corner of your mark, stay on this side of the tape. Otherwise you're going to be off if you use the other side. So we're going top. I always like to just top of the tape, top of the numbers. So place your mark there, and then that intersection right there is your mark that you want to chalk your line with. So this is going to be a chalk line reference. The 4-inch mark that we made down on the other end is going to be your other reference mark for your chalk line. I will point out here that it's not going to be likely that this mark is in the corner of your room. This is probably going to fall somewhere in the middle of the wall or towards the corner, but not in the corner. So when you chalk your line, you're going to bring your line through it and continue on all the way to the corner of your room. So that's going to involve a third person, probably. Somebody to stand over this mark and tell you when you are passing through with your chalk line. So one person's going to hold the chalk line down at the corner, off of the corner of your master line, your main line, and then somebody's going to then stand over this line and tell you when you're passing through it perfectly, and then you'll snap a line in your faint colored chalk, not your permanent chalk at this point. Then once you have that line, test it, make sure it's not too close to the foundation wall and no plumbing is in the way. Once that all checks out, snap a permanent line. If you need to move it an inch, move it an inch from both ends. Measure an inch from your line, make a mark. Measure an inch from your line at the other corner, make a mark. Chalk a new blue line, test that. Once you're sure it's good, chalk a permanent line. But before you do that, I would say double check. Once you have your blue line where you think you want it, go back, do your diagonal measurement again, just to ensure that you are in fact a perfect right angle triangle. So that's it. Once you have done a master line and a perpendicular line, you have 2 lines now that you can make parallel lines from for the rest of your build.